Got some stuff here to unpack for you two. First of all, got to tell you something a little bit about myself, how I think. I've kind of like somebody before I do business with them. I just don't. I go by usually what other people say, and necessarily that means if I get a good job, sometimes you think you got screwed, and when you think about it, you never did. But these are things that go through my mind as liking somebody and trusting somebody are part of doing business. And I wanted to show you my ad. So for somebody to get my business, oh, it's upside down. We're getting a lot of rain here. I'm doing preliminaries. Not much is going to happen, but one thing about my shop before I take trucks down, where I got two show cars, my old stock car, and some things that I care about is if it's a hog, it's got to get cleaned properly. And that's what I'm going to tell you young guys about. You know, you might want to do your first paint job this summer. And there's some things that you can necessarily avoid. Number one, I showed you about using like insecticides and stuff. Spray around if you're going to go outside the garage with it. It's a nice day and we're going to shoot it now. But also the bed underneath the truck. That keeps those creepy crawlers that, did you ever do a paint job like I did? And I had it happen with this truck behind me. Got done shooting it and a spider crawled out and crawled right across the clear coat. I mean the finish coat, not even in the base coat. So this truck's got a lot of debris in the bed. Not like I want to clean this man's truck. Okay, and then we're going to cover this. Remember about trust? Because this other company, I'll never do business with them again. And this was a company I bought from. But you can see the stress, how they stress fractured this panel. This is what was originally sent. That's my dirt on there. And this was because I cut my hand. That's so sharp because it's so ill. And if you look at this panel, now we're in the bad lighting. This is the New England, and it's like this until April or May. I'm trying to show you that. Okay, this has a taper to this arch, these trucks, and that panel fits much better. Now, if you look at this other panel, you don't. You don't have that. There's no, I'm getting a sheen. I can see it. I'm behind this camera. That's why I like the cameras with the flip out screens. But this is getting a sheen. But you can see that taper is nowhere in this panel. Okay. It's going back to doing business with somebody. I think my friend Enrique, I think he's going to think maybe I accused him of wrecking my flex plate on my truck. I went after being upset because I didn't realize that those flex plates can go out of true on the Silverados. That's for my Silverado. I got a PRW flex plate. They're $100. They're worth the investment. But anyway, the other guy that worked up at Tonawanda, his name is Charles Hammer, like Hammer. And he was actually a vocational technical instructor too, part-time, when he retired from GM. And those trucks, I think he retired about 10 years ago. And yes, they were having a run when you live in a hot climate, okay? When you live in a hot climate, because it gets really hot, smoking hot here in the summer. As I said, our azimuth up here and a little bit of change in this global warming, it gets gosh dang hot. It can distort those flex plates. So I'm hoping the man's going to accept, because I thought about what I said. Remember what I told you? Sometimes your first thoughts, you should just keep them to yourself, or, you know, sometimes your first thoughts are your best thoughts, sometimes not. When dealing with people, as I said, I don't want this man to say he doesn't want to fix it because he thought maybe I accused him. No, I didn't. I was more or less fishing for information, because as I started that truck up then the second time, it was not hot. And I was underneath it, and I checked the flex plate. It was not running out. It was true. But then when that truck, I left it idle, and then I asked questions, and I had to go out and start it up and leave it idle again. And then when it got hot, I realized that those flex plates, they will distort. And I did not know that. And when you do competition racing and you're running the automatic transmissions in those flex plates, they're actually suggesting every 3-4 years replacement. So as Morsky says, by the way, Morsky needs a cat like I do. So does Puddin'. They got all kinds of mouse house problems. Like this truck has a mouse house. I'm going to show you what goes wrong with these trucks. Let me change the subject here. This truck is starting to get terminal. And if he doesn't get after it, it's going to cost him a lot more money than what I'm going to charge him. But it's even starting in the rockers here, and he's got a place under the door. But when you start seeing this, that's coming from the inside out. It's called a bleed. And then you see this helps it even more. That's not surface. You can see underneath that it's starting to come through. So I'm going to do a little more examination before I call this young gentleman. He's not that young. He's in his 40s. But you see, he's a working guy, and I respect him. And that's why he could probably get a couple more years if I doctor those and I do my rust stuff, because that mouse house that I grabbed, it's in the cab supports of this truck. It's got to get cleaned out, and he needs rust stuff. And the other thing is, this truck's in really nice shape. You see, that wasn't a mouse house, as Mortsky. That was a mouse condominium project there. They were planning on doing rentals. So in here, this stuff's all in nice shape, and I have various chemicals, and I exhibit the power of my stuff to my customers. Like my RP 342. These have been out here forever. This is untreated. You can see how dark the steel is there. And then this is treated, and that's there, a couple years. RP 342, it's time for another coat. That's on there at the same time. So this is, this is what you end up with if you don't bite the bullet and spend the money. And that happens in a matter of time, especially if you're commuting. Now, he says he basically uses this in the summer to tow his tow rig. And this is what I was telling you about, the trash in the bed. Okay, I don't take stuff like that inside my shop. And I sure don't want all the creepy crawlers and everything else that are in it. I don't want spider webs hanging off a show car or the race car. Basically, if they bury me behind the shop or under the floor, I'd prefer that. I've had the place that long. But anyway, when you have a truck that's this nice, this is an 08 that you're looking at. It's just getting the in the north and northeast here, the climate. This gets a lot worse, and it does in the summer. By the end of the summer, you're like, what the hell happened to my truck? Especially if you start looking at it. Because in the fall, most people do look over their vehicle, the tires. What am I going to need for the winter? Well, they went past it, so we ended up with the tape, and then we're going to build a tube bumper, custom tube bumper, a lot stronger than Chinesium. These new bumpers that you're getting on eBay, Fleabay, it's really dicey if you're going to get a good one. Not to mention, with this global situation, it's getting worse and worse. It's taking, it took almost another week since my last video to get those panels. As a matter of fact, the UPS guy just handed them to me a couple minutes ago, and I figured, boom, I'm going to fire up the camera and get my YouTube video out. Apologize to Enrique in case he thinks I was indicating that he had something to do with that, because he did not. That's a GM problem, and it's something that I was unaware of. And when I'm wrong, I admit this stuff to people. But one thing I'm not wrong is about what's going on with this truck. He says it's got over 200,000 on it. I have friends asking me, Dutch, what's the best truck I can buy right now, a new truck? I wouldn't buy a new truck right now. I just told Donna Eckert, she's related to my brother-in-law. I told Donna, I said, get yourself an older Mazda, a Honda, a Toyota SUV. At least that stuff can be repaired, and it does not rot away like this domestic stuff does. This is all Chinesium steel. I don't mean to cough through my video. I was welding some stuff up down the other shop, clearing a space for this thing, and whenever I do that welding, and that gas gets me. But anyway, enough explaining that I may not live as long as I want to. We need to take the door panels off and get inside the doors because he's starting to get that rust along the bottom there. I also do suggest that 3M molding tape, if you can get the good stuff. I don't know if he'll go for it. He could do it himself if he really wanted to rip those off of there, bring it back to me, and treat the bottom of the doors. Right now, the doors rot inside out, but you do need a seal there to keep that dirt from getting up in there and the salt and stuff. What the rot that he's getting is just the metal deteriorating because of what the steel compositions are. But even at the mileage, I would put another engine because he's not going to buy a truck like this up here in the Northeast. He said this came up from Florida. By all appearances, he's telling me the truth because I never see them that they're not rotted in there. That's another place where they need the rust coating is the back end of these beds. They just start rotting away. He's, like I said, he's got a chance that if he doesn't want to spend a lot of money now, he can spend a little here with me, a little more, and I can at least get it to preserve it for a little bit. Then if he wants to go the whole 9 yards, maybe he'll make a little money this summer. I don't know what, this global situation's not good with this war with Iran, and they're implicating that Russia, like we didn't know Russia was involved in this bullshit. And even maybe like that drone that fell in Armageddon or whatever the hell the name of it is. I'm not up on them. I want to forget my experience. I want to forget my desert vacation forever. I get a little emotional talking about it. And he's got like these running board guards on the bottom of that truck. I don't know if you guys can see that. Or those running boards, that stuff. That all starts deteriorating your frame. Because even if you look in here, you don't even find too many fuel filler necks that look that nice. That still looks pretty good. He needs a little RP342. That's what keeps these trucks alive, is the maintenance. If you're not willing to do the maintenance, you're going to have a dust ball. It's not going to pass inspection next year. A lot of people are finding out they're having to go to buy here, pay here lots where the known lemons get dumped. Do you know what I mean by lemons? The cars that are lemons, they're junk. They get them from the auction because they didn't pass inspection somewhere else, or they got in an accident and they pass them off to Copart. Somebody puts them back together, and a lot of times when they put them back together, they're half-assed, and you've got immediate problems. And my mom's neighbor, they live in